And Big Vic Anderson's gonna come up.
Please. What is this? What is this?
That's all right. Vic's just mad because he couldn't beat UK. That's about it.
Welcome to life every day here on the Red and Blue Review. These two guys going at it. That was Cody Hutchinson and Vic Anderson. Of course, Vic, the former U of L football player, kind of going at each other. We'll have that a little bit later on in the broadcast about the bravery, and I'll use that term for right now, that it took for a Kentucky fan to show up at the U of L spring football game. But we'll have a bit on that. Say hello to our friends on our buy and sell edition of the Red and Blue Review. This guy right here is Darrell Bird of the Cat's Paws.
I appreciate it, sir. Can't wait. Love doing these shows. These shows are a lot of fun to do, the buy or sell, and I'm going to go all over the board today just to be honoring.
And this is Howie Lindsay of CardinalSports.com fame.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about Louisville, and I've got a big pocketbook, so I'm going to buy a lot of things.
We're going to get all of it going right now. This episode of the Red and Blue Review is brought to you by the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety, who reminds you that one text or call could wreck it all. Topic number one, a former Wildcat who played for both Joe B. Hall and for Adolph Rupp says that this Kentucky basketball team in 2012 is the best of all time. Here's Larry Stamper.
I think they belong at the top because just the youth that they had, and to be able to go out and win a NCAA title and stuff, and at the level that they played at, if these kids stayed 4 years and played for 4 years, our expectations would be that we'd get 2 more titles. Now, whether that would happen or not, you'd have to have a lot of luck. Yeah. But they'd have to be at the top of the list for it because of the youth that they had on the team.
All right, Darrell, 2012, Larry Stamper says this is the greatest of all UK basketball teams. Are you buying or selling?
I am buying it, and what a fun debate this is to argue between the 96 Cats and the 2012 Cats and non-title winners. The 75 team wasn't that bad. 78 was great. I'm buying it because if you take this team and you transport it back to the old days, they very well may have won 4 straight national titles, as good as they were. And to think they did it mostly with freshmen, those guys would have got better and better and better through the years. That they could have won 4 and be threatening UCLA's all-time record. So I am buying.
Howie, was this the greatest UK basketball team of all time?
I'm going to sell it. This team could not have beat the 96 team because you think about it, they've got 5 guys, maybe a 6 if you want to add that way. That 96 team was loaded. Mm-hmm. I mean, 10 guys going in the NBA. This team does not have that. I mean, they're a fantastic team, but it's going to be tough to beat 96.
I'm going to buy as well, and really taking Howie's argument one step further, because I think if this team is together 2 or 3 more years, they would be good enough to beat that team that had guys like Walter McCarty on it and Tony Delk and some of those kind of guys. So I'm buying. I think this, had they had the ability to play more than 1 year, this would have been the greatest UK team of all time. Well, with Gorgui Dieng and Shane Bohannon having a chance to turn pro after next season, one of the big focuses Rick Pitino has on this recruiting season is a couple of big men.
We specifically are trying to concentrate on the front court, and this helps us evaluate the April period so we know who to go watch in the July period.
All right, Darrell, buy or sell. Louisville absolutely has to pick up 2 big men for that 2013 recruiting class. Buy or sell?
I am selling that right now. I will give you they need 1. I'm not convinced Gorgui Dieng is going to go to the NBA after next season because I'm not convinced he's going to quite develop enough to make it an obvious choice to go. I keep coming back to, I've been following UK forever, I come back to Jules Kamara, who was from the same country, didn't know that much about basketball, grew and grew and grew, and just never quite got to the level where it was obvious that he needed to go to the NBA. Shane Bohannon, yes, I can see that. I'm not sold on Gorgui Dieng being gone.
Howie, buy or sell, Rick's shopping list must include 2 big men.
They have to get 2 big men. I'm absolutely buying this. Louisville has to get 2 bigs in this class, and maybe even 3. I mean, I think I'd feel more comfortable if they got 3. I do think Gorgie Zhang, as much as he talks about academics, I think this might be his last year. I do think this is Shane Bohannon's last year, so they have to get at least 2, maybe 3 big men in this class.
And I am selling, and I'm selling because I'm not sure Louisville's got the recruiters they've got to have to go out and get the players that they need. If you look at Kentucky, they've had the ability to keep a very stable coaching staff under John Calipari, the guys who have built those long-term relationships. Rick's had a lot of turnover, and it's going to be tough for him to get in with those guys. Everybody wants big men, and you're just one of the other guys standing in line. So I think it may be what Louisville wants, it may be what they need, but pulling it off is another thing. Well, Cal captured his first national championship, as we just talked about, with a bunch of underclassmen. Only one senior, as you know, Darius Miller got a lot of playing time. Paul Andrews, a former University of Kentucky basketball letterman, says that Kentucky fans will enjoy winning national championships, but sooner or later, they're going to get tired of one-and-doners.
His first year close to the Final Four, made the Final Four last year and then won it this year. So I think that he's proven that it can be done. How long of success we'll be able to sustain that, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that. But I think some of the fans may get a little frustrated just because they really grow to like the teams and the guys that are playing on the team, and they want more of those players. But I just think it's the way that the game is going right now, and in my opinion, unless the NBA and the NCAA kind of get together and put some more parameters on players going early to the pros, I think we're probably stuck with the situation that we're in right now.
All right, Darryl, buying or selling, fans are going to get tired of those one-and-doners.
Not as long as they're hanging banners of Upper Ingley. So, no, I'm selling that. Absolutely. They're not going to get tired of that because just for that reason, as long as you're winning, they're fine. The problem I see is that there's going to be a little bit of a letdown every other year. When they won the title, you can tell next year's team couldn't compete with this year's team, so Cal has to get their act together and make a run at the Final Four like they did 2 years ago when nobody expected. That kind of that's a nice roller coaster to be on. Final Four champs, they could live with that. As long as they're doing that, the fan base will be fine, and they may not like some of the things about it, but they're just going to deal with it and be happy.
How are we buying or selling Cat fans who will get tired of the one-and-doners?
I'm going to buy it, and I know you're shocked at that, but I think here's a couple of things. Kentucky fans like to view themselves as the best program around, best basketball of all time, well, it's going to get a little tiresome to think you're just a AAA program for an NBA squad. I mean, eventually you're going to think, we're better than this, right? I think the other thing is, eventually, all of Cal's coach speak will soon fill up the room to a point where you just can't move around very well.
You did say coach speak,
I
right?
did say
okay,
coach speak.
Sure.
I was thinking something else, but I'll say coach speak.
We heard something else, by the way.
It'll just get tiresome after a while, especially if they have one down year. Kentucky fans won't tolerate it.
And I am selling, and I'm selling because my opinion is Kentucky fans are always looking out for the next bunch. My opinion is, not just Kentucky fans, but I think really if you're a college basketball fan, once the player leaves your school and heads on to the pros, they kind of just move out of your front lobe at all. You're not really thinking about them much. You're already focused on the next team and the guys that are coming on. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal for Kentucky basketball fans. Well, Richard Pitino left some very big shoes behind when he took off for Florida International. The guy who replaced him, Kareem Richardson, though, says he is very confident in his ability to recruit.
I really honestly feel like the recruiting standpoint of it is built on relationships, and I feel like, put me out in the middle of wherever it may be, whether it's California or Texas, wherever it may be, I just feel like developing those relationships, I feel like I'll figure it out.
All right, the biggest loss from this past year's basketball team at Louisville was Richard Pitino. Darryl, buy or sell?
Absolutely buying it. You cannot put too much emphasis on recruiting. And I think one of the biggest stories that on the Kentucky side that went unnoticed was the contract extensions for all the assistants. John Roebuck, Orlando Antigua, Kenny Payne. Great recruiting group there, and to lock them in again is a big deal, and it's going to be tough to replace. You can't just walk in and say, I'm the new recruiter. It takes years and years to build up the relationships inside some of those high schools and with some of those AAU programs. So I think that loss is big time.
How we buy or sell Richard Pitino, the biggest loss from 2012?
I'm going to sell it, but this is a tough one for me because I can't figure it out. You look at it's going to be a huge loss in terms of scouting. I mean, Richard Pitino handled all the scouting information, and so from that standpoint, it is a huge loss. But I'm going to sell it because you can't count. I don't think you can count Richard Pitino over the loss of Kyle Keurig and Chris Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were actually on the court executing the plays. Kyle Keurig was a big reason Louisville won a lot.
And I'm going to sell as well. I had the privilege during the Final Four game between Kentucky and Louisville to be sitting right behind the Louisville bench. And Howie and Darrell, I can't tell you how many times I saw Rick Pitino turn to walk back toward his bench, look at his assistants, and I didn't see a coach who was confident he could go get, advice or counsel of what to do next. I think Richard may be a great recruiter. I don't know that. Maybe a great X&O's coach. I don't know that. But I know the look of a coach when he turns, and I don't feel like he had the support on the bench that probably he needs. Personal opinion. That's why we're doing our buy and sell section. We come back on the show, we're going to see if a former Kentucky basketball player can create the hottest new place to play college hoops right here in the Commonwealth. As we do that, Darrell's going to tell us about the book, Celebrate.
Appreciate it, sir. Celebrate 136 pages celebrating the 8th National Championship for Kentucky in stores everywhere. You can order online through our website, magazine.catspaws.com. We cover it from Big Blue Madness all the way through the celebration at Rupp Arena and the hanging of banner number 8.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Buying your next VW from Bachman Volkswagen will be a great experience. No games or gimmicks, competitive prices, and a huge inventory make number one Bachman the place to get your Volkswagen. The all-new 2012 Jetta, an IHS top safety pick, is a great vehicle and fun to drive. Or get the sporty all-new 2012 Volkswagen Beetle. It's back and better than ever. Come to number one Bachman Volkswagen today to get your new Volkswagen before someone else does.
Bachman makes a difference.
Underage drinking can permanently affect your memory and speech abilities. 10% of suicides involve underage drinking. 36% of homicides involve underage drinking. 30% of drownings involve underage drinking. Almost half of underage drinkers become addicted. Don't throw your life away.
See Allison at lunch today? No. I'm gonna text her. I'm gonna text Allison. Matt's calling me. Hey, we got the phone.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Edge or Explorer. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Sean Woods is a basketball coach who has passion and thinks he's just as good as anybody in the United States at doing this type of deal.
Sean Woods is the newest basketball coach at Morehead State University. Welcome back to the Red and Blue Review, our buy and sell day. And Sean Woods has enough confidence, guys, that he thinks that he can turn Morehead State into the new hottest place to play college basketball.
Everywhere I've been, we've made some type of history. And I don't plan on it stopping right now. I plan on, with you all's help and the support, taking this not only to the NCAA tournament, not only being one of the top teams in the OVC, but being a major player, making this the Gonzaga of the South.
All right, Darrell, let me ask you, buy or sell, Sean Woods can turn Morehead State into the Gonzaga of the South. Buy or sell?
I'm buying it simply because I love the attitude. I love that. He's not coming in saying, I want to make Morehead the best it can be. We're going to be competing for the OVC every year. Shoot higher than that. I love that. The thing that worries me, most coaches at that level, when they get really good, they get to that Gonzaga level, they vote for a new job. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And Gonzaga has Seattle, Morehead has Morehead, so we'll see how that challenge goes. But I love the attitude of being able, let's be really good. I would be fine if they could do what Murray did this year. If you could be like Murray every single year and you've got that kind of recruiting base and that kind of tradition, heck, go for it, buddy.
Howie, buying or selling?
I'm selling it for a couple of reasons. One, the reason Daryl said was, it's tougher to recruit to Morehead State than it would be Seattle or any other place. I think the other thing that is funny to me is that Gonzaga has not had great success recently. Yeah. That'd be like saying, I want to be the Chevy Cavalier of sedans. Why wouldn't you just say, we want to be Butler?
Yeah.
Or we want, Butler's had much more success recently, or Xavier. But I guess those are already in the East, so maybe East or South. I guess he couldn't say that, but yeah, I don't see it happening. It's great that he wants to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm selling because the only two coaches that have gotten out of Morehead State alive are Donnie Tyndall and Wayne Martin. I mean, there's been a lot of coaches go through. Remember Dick Fick?
Yeah.
Remember Kyle Macy?
Kyle Macy,
I mean, that is a tough program to win, and I think in a state like Kentucky, where Kentucky and Louisville suck all the basketball oxygen out of the state, it's really going to be tough to get your leg up and get a fighting chance to do something like that. Look what Murray State did this year. I mean, Murray State had one of the best records in all of college basketball. I think 2 losses maybe going into the postseason, and they were a big deal here, but outside of the state of Kentucky, you couldn't find Murray State with a map.
Well, and two, even if he builds Morehead State to a power, he's still got to contend with Murray State, Western Kentucky, before he ever even gets to Louisville and Kentucky.
Yeah, a lot of work to do there. Rick Pitino, he's our next topic as we're going through our buy or sell list of grocery items. Walter McCarty played for Rick at Kentucky, coached under him at Louisville, and he says one of the things he's noticed about Coach Pitino, he's now kinder and gentler.
No, he was tough. He was tough on us, but we loved every bit of it. And we can actually take it. We knew he loved us, and he knew what was good for us as players and as young men. So, he got after us a little bit, but we loved every bit of it. And I think it's a little different. There's so much media now, with Twitter and Facebook and all the MySpace. It's tough to be tough on kids because, first I don't want to say we all rebel, but, none of us like, when somebody jumps on us, when our parents get on us. But, it's a different period right now, and he's learning to adjust to whatever he needs to, and he's doing a great job at it.
All right, Daryl, you covered every moment of his era at the University of Kentucky, now here at Louisville. Is Rick kinder and gentler? You buying that?
I'm absolutely buying it. Now, there are degrees. I'm not saying he's a softy by any stretch, but there's an infamous, I've never heard it, recording that a manager made during his early days at UK where, wow, he lit up the place for 2 solid hours. Yeah. But to me, and a little bit of a serious note, 9/11 changed Rick Pitino forever. You cannot lose your brother-in-law in that tragedy at the World Trade Center without it impacting you. It changed his perspective. It changed his attitude on a lot of things. So he had to be kinder and gentler than he was then.
How are we buying or selling Rick as a kinder, gentler basketball coach?
I'm selling this. I'm selling it all day long. I've been there. I've seen it. I'm selling this, absolutely. I do think, to Daryl's point, I do think that it has given him more perspective. Certainly, 9/11 has given him more perspective. The trouble at Boston has given him more perspective. He is a more perspective-laden coach. To see him in a huddle, though, to see the spit flying at a person's face, to see the contortions that he flips his body into on the sideline, to hear the smack of an Italian loafer on a floor so loud that it drowns out the rest of the crowd around, and you can hear it up in the second level. Yeah, you tell me that guy's any kinder and gentler? Yeah, come on now. And here's the other thing. Yeah. This is old guy talk, because I always talk to.
How would you know?
This is old guy talk because I talked to some of the old Louisville players, and they're like, "Oh, Rick was, Ellis Miles. Oh, Rick was much tougher on us than he was on these guys." Yeah. And the Kentucky guys, oh, he's much tougher way back when. Come on, still same old Rick Pitino.
Now I'm buying, and let me tell you why I'm buying. I think Howie's right in the fact that he's the same old guy on the court. I think off the lines, which kind of goes to Darryl points, I think when you get outside the lines, and here's what I base it on, press conferences. Yeah. I've heard him accept questions from the media that back in the day when we were covering him in Lexington, you would sit there thinking, all right, now how can I wordsmith this question so that Rick doesn't rip me before I get it out of my mouth. Exactly. You know those kind. And I have heard our colleagues now ask Rick questions, and he fields them even somewhat benevolently when he would have torn your head off 20 years ago.
You're right. Yeah. Good point.
All right. Let's talk a little bit of football now. These Cardinals on the football side have some huge expectations this year, and if these young guys keep their knuckleheads together, they might be able to win them all.
it's up to the young guys for the leadership. It's got to come from the young guys also. Maybe a Teddy, maybe a Preston Brown. Who's it going to come from? But we're going to need everyone as a football team to take this program and get it going. And this could be a special group. That's all about work.
So here it is, Daryl, buy or sell. Louisville's toughest foe this year will not be anybody on the field, but complacency.
And the obvious reason that I voiced before, there's no competition in the Big East, so absolutely you got to go find a competitor. My problem is, and I've seen this before through all the years, this team is going to be really talented and it's really young. How many games into the season they remain undefeated, they start to think, we got this figured out. We know what we're doing, Coach. We got you. That's when you run into trouble. So he's got to guard against them being complacent and thinking they have arrived. As soon as you think you have arrived, you are done.
Howie, buy or sell, Louisville's toughest foe will be complacency.
I think that will be a huge foe for Louisville this year, but I'm selling this, and I'm selling this for a reason. It's easy to forget that all these other schools have scholarships to hand out to. These are all scholarship athletes. Cincinnati's got talent. Rutgers has talent. South Florida's got talent. They've got a full team of scholarship athletes that are trying to knock you off. And yes, complacency is going to be a big thing. And yes, Louisville is going to be the most talented team in the Big East. But, you're not just going to walk through a schedule. It's just not going to happen.
And it's a buy for me because I think this Louisville schedule really does open up, as we've already talked about on this show. There's really not going to be anyone at this point Louisville's going to face on the football field in which they won't be favored. Louisville probably favored going into every game. And when you look back on last year's game, FIU, Marshall, losing those games, Louisville clearly the more talented ball club, but it was complacency, or as Coach said, fake juice.
Fake juice,
There was something going on with the team last year, I think, and I'm confident Charlie's going to get that addressed. So let's move on to the next thing. Cardinal great Roger Bertman. He looked back on this past Cardinal basketball season that certainly had its ups and downs. In fact, he said it was a roller coaster ride that could have crashed unless the right guy was coaching.
Feel sorry for those kids, like Buckles and Lamara and Van Treese and those kids like Blackshear that didn't really have a chance to play a full season. So you feel for those guys. But for Coach Pitino and his staff, they got to be proud. They did a terrific job getting them ready at the end of the year. That's just a sign of good coach.
Buy or sell, Daryl, Pitino's best coaching job at Louisville this past season?
At Louisville, yes. The 96 job at UK was his best. We're absolutely buying it because late in the season, they were dead in the water. They couldn't score 50 points a game. They weren't going anywhere. To get to the Final Four was remarkable.
Howie, buy or sell?
I'm selling this, but this was a great coaching job by Rick Pitino, but I think he had more talent on this year's team than he had in 2005, which also made a Final Four run.
And it's a sell for me as well because they lost on the road at a bad Providence team by, 33, and then toward the end of the season they lost a bunch of games. They got on a hot streak at the right time. I don't think it was his best coaching job. When we come back, we're going to show you what happens when a Kentucky football fan shows up at a Louisville football event as we head to the break. Howie's going to tell us about CardinalSports.com.
Absolutely. The best buy in all of Cardinal Sports is CardinalSports.com. Get on there to get all your recruiting news and updates and basketball recruiting stuff, videos of all these different prospects. You can find rankings of everything, and you can even chat about it with your fellow fans. Check out CardinalSports.com.
Allstate Ford, 7-time recipient of Ford Motor Company's President's Award for Customer Satisfaction, with 13 Ford certified service technicians and a best-in-class parts department. Business or personal, we are the truck experts. Allstate Ford, on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Buying your next VW from Bachman Volkswagen will be a great experience. No games or gimmicks, competitive prices, and a huge inventory make #1 Bachman the place to get your Volkswagen. The all-new 2012 Jetta, an IHS top safety pick, is a great vehicle and fun to drive. Or get the sporty all-new 2012 Volkswagen Beetle. It's back and better than ever. Come to #1 Bachman Volkswagen today to get your new Volkswagen before someone else does.
Bachman makes a difference.
Underage drinking can permanently affect your memory and speech abilities. 10% of suicides involve underage drinking. 36% of homicides involve underage drinking. 30% of drownings involve underage drinking. Almost half of underage drinkers become addicted. Don't throw your life away.
See Allison at lunch today? Nah. I'm gonna text Allison. Hey, Matt's calling me. Hey, we got the phone now.
Join the club at Sam Swope Auto Group. When you service a vehicle at any Sam Swope dealership, you automatically become a Service VIP Rewards member. You get member pricing on parts and service, lost key return, and emergency roadside assistance. Plus, you can earn points that qualify you for discounts on your next vehicle purchase, up to $2,500. The best part is becoming a member is free. Become a member today at any Sam Swope dealership. Nobody walks away because everybody saves.
Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, stop by Allstate Ford and test drive a new Edge or Explorer. Or visit us online at allstatetrucks.com. Allstate Ford on the Watterson at Poplar Level Road.
Can I hear a boo for this Kentucky fan, please? Thank you.
Anderson giving it to Kentucky fan Cody Hutchinson, who showed up at the U of L spring football game. So, Darryl, buying or selling, U of L football is set to take over the state again.
I'm selling that so fast. It should be on the bargain cart, wholesale clearance rack. There's no way any UK fan is going to convert to Louisville. You're dreaming if you think, no matter how successful the Cardinals are, UK fans will not go over.
Buy or sell, Howie. Here come the Cards across the state.
I'm buying it. I think it happened during the Petrino era. I think there are a lot of solid football fans who just couldn't put up with Kentucky football, and so they became Louisville football fans. Still Kentucky basketball, so I'm buying it.
And I am selling it. I agree with you that I think there were some fans that jumped on the U of L bandwagon during Petrino, and I think that's the problem. This offense won't be as exciting as Bobby's offenses were. That was one of the things that made it interesting, and always interesting here on Planet Red and Blue on the Red and Blue Review.
When you visit Kentucky and savor some of its unique experiences, you'll be surprised by how much your vacation really comes to life. To plan your Kentucky vacation, call today or visit KentuckyTourism.com.